Hey guys, if you'd like to learn the absolutely essential fundamentals of Valorant competitive from me, make sure to check out my Patreon link down below in the description. It's only $5, and it'll teach you everything that you need to know in order to improve out of lower ranks rapidly, as well as eventually reach Immortal 3 and even Radiant. So enjoy the video, guys. See you in the next one. Hey guys, so today I'm going to be explaining to you the top 3 mechanics you need to understand in order to significantly improve in Valorant. So if you understand even just one more of these than you already do, like to some better degree, you're going to become significantly better. I think that these 3 mechanics together can really make you a better mechanical player, not necessarily like a Radiant player straight away, but if you don't already know these things, you're going to want to learn these things, is my opinion. So the first is, of course, going to be counter strafing. This should be a surprise to really none of you. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not super good at counter strafing, then you're missing out mechanically, right? So I have videos already explaining this, but this is gonna deserve a rightful spot on this list. And counter strafing is basically when you hit A or D. I'm not gonna talk about the specifics, whether you let go or stop of A or D, but it's really up to you. It's preference. So I like to simply just let go. But basically, what you're going to want to focus on here is where you place your crosshair when you're strafing. So right now, we're just doing simple left and right strafes. We'll talk about how to make this unpredictable in a minute. But really, you see how whenever I go to the right, I place my crosshair to the left. Why is this? This is because I'm moving in the opposite direction, so I need to compensate, right? So see, you can even shoot and try to shoot in the same spot. The closer you are, it's going to be easier. And then you can of course adjust. Like, you don't need to do it perfectly. Like, I can look like this and then slightly adjust, right? But you see, if I just keep my crosshair still and don't adjust, then it's going to be really hard for me to actually shoot the person I'm trying to strafe at, right? So you don't always need to do this, but whenever you're in certain scenarios, whenever you're closer to someone, you're going to want to do this. Obviously, if I'm really far back, I don't need to do this near as much. I need to like barely do this just because that's how distance works in this game and in real life. But so other than that, right, so you can practice this just going back and forth, moving your crosshair to the left and to the right whenever you strafe. This is just helping you get your muscle memory in order. But now we're going to want to think about, like, how do we become unpredictable? So I like to do normal strafing first for a couple times, and then after the opponents maybe like realize, like, okay, I'm being shot at or something, especially if you're in a lower rank, it's gonna be, you're probably not gonna land all your shots perfectly every time. You're gonna miss a little bit. That's just kind of the nature of, you know, of shooting. But also, whenever you strafe, make sure you're not holding shift, make sure you're running. But so, okay, so we're strafing to the right, we're strafing to the left. Maybe we strafe to the left and then to the right, or to the right and then to the left, or maybe to the right, and then to the left, right, left, left. So what I'm trying to tell you here is try to be unpredictable which direction you strafe in. If you always strafe to the right and then to the left, then as you start to rank up, people are gonna be like, okay, he's gonna strafe to the right, and they're not gonna think that consciously, but they're gonna be like, okay, this guy strafes, and they're gonna place their crosshair on top of your head wherever they think you're gonna be moving. So if you do like one long straight strafe to the right and then a short strafe to the left, you're really gonna kind of like throw them off. Or instead, a short strafe to the right and the long strafe to the left, or, you know, vice versa. You're really gonna start to throw them off. This is why the pop and swing is so effective. Like, if you know you're about to peek someone and you just go like this, why in almost every rank it works, right? Because people just don't expect that. People don't play against that. It's not common for people to just do this, right? It's very unusual. So you can do, it's not really a counter strafe, but you can do something like that where you strafe a bit longer and then strafe back. But remember always to be like adjusting your crosshair. This is really important. And again, we can practice this against the bots in here. We can practice this in deathmatch. We can practice this all over the place, right? So I like to kind of like strafe in and out like this. My aim's kind of whack, don't mind it. And I just like to strafe in different directions. Maybe twice to the left, twice to the right. Maybe like a long, you know. And all you're doing here is you're just encoding this into your brain, right? You're encoding this muscle memory into your brain. I also used to like to come out to here and then alternate shooting different targets each time. And again, alternating how I strafe each time. Maybe I'll strafe twice to the left, twice to the right, long to the right, short to the left. And really just, this also is helping us get our aim on, right? And it's helping you be mobile, right? That's really what counter strafing is. You're being mobile while you shoot. That's the most important thing about counter strafing. It's becoming harder to hit while simultaneously increasing your chances of just winning gunfights. So hopefully this tip makes sense. This is number 1. Next, we're going to be moving on to number 2. I'll see you guys then. Alright guys, so the next tip on the list is going to be different types of peeking. So obviously you guys have definitely heard the term of peeking. And the thing is, you guys might understand some of the different types of peeking, but maybe not all of them. But the problem really is that you don't really fully understand when to utilize which types of them. So by far the most versatile and useful type of peeking is jiggle peeking. So this is definitely one that you want to understand from this list. So jiggle peeking is going to be where you just simply, it's what it sounds like, right? You're just jiggling around a corner, and really this is to get information. It doesn't mean you can't take fights, but what you're trying to do is not necessarily take a fight straight away. Like say I was just standing here and I want to watch lane. Instead of just sitting here out in the open watching it like this, and instead of standing here hiding behind here, because what happens if I stand right here behind here, right? They're gonna come out here, and unless my crosshair is like right here, that you're just not in a good spot. So this is why we're constantly like doing this, combining good crosshair placement like this. You don't need to strafe. Another thing about jiggle peeking is you don't need to be doing this like every 2 seconds or every like split second. Sometimes you can wait like a few seconds. Of course, remember that you can be timing though, right? So if I sit here, I jiggle peek and then I wait for like 5 seconds, and then they come out, right? Like that's just bad timing. Also make sure obviously that your stairs are being watched. But you're jiggle peeking, and this is mainly for info. And then if you see someone's gun, then you can start to kind of move out, right? You can maybe activate your dash, look for the kill. But if you're always standing out in the open, it's just not advantageous for you. It's just kind of dangerous, right? So that's one type of peeking. This, and again, this can be applied absolutely everywhere, all over any map. So you know, if we want to like just jiggle peek like here, we're gonna jiggle peek slowly, jiggle peek all these different angles instead of just wide swinging, right? However, wide swing is another very common or very popular type of swing. So let's say we want to just swing out lane, because obviously the more time you spend here, the less favorable it is for you to take sight, because the enemies are rotating from here and from spawn. So here I would just, you might jiggle like this, and then you might just swing out, and then your team's behind you, right? You clear everything, and you might do like a jiggle peek in the back, but really this is another type of peeking. Another type of peeking that we see from a specific player known as Poppin is a Poppin swing, as I talked about in the last section, right? So Poppin swing is extremely useful just because it's so unexpected. I think it's pretty funny actually that people can't hit whenever people do this. People don't really do this in like that many games. People do it in higher ranks more often. Basically, it's just where you just accept like, okay, I'm just gonna hold D or hold A and just like wait until I see someone. They're gonna start spraying at me because they're bad, and then you're gonna track them and then shoot them once, and then it's a free kill. So that's another type of peeking. I'm not really gonna talk about jump peeking. It is somewhat important, but it's not really like the most top 3 like, you know, mechanics you need to learn. Definitely as far as peeking, jiggle peeking is the most important. So you know, say we're coming in here to B main, we can walk up like this. You should be walking, and then you jiggle peek. Instead of, you're not making noise, you're just jiggle peeking. Another thing about jiggle peeking is you can actually do it while running without making noise. So right now I'm not holding shift, okay? I'm not holding shift, but I'm also not making noise. Another part of this mechanic is you need to make sure you're not too close to the wall, because if you're too close to the wall, you're not gonna have peeker's advantage. You wanna be somewhat further away, because it's simply just better for you. So if you didn't know that, now you know. But make sure whenever you're doing this, you don't make a footstep. You see how I'm making a footstep here? So keep that in mind. You can do this without making a footstep. It depends how far you go. So try not to go too far. So hopefully this makes sense, guys. Jiggle peeking, other types of peeking can be very, very valuable for you. You know, practice them in the range. Practice them especially in deathmatch. And this is going to really improve your overall mechanical skill in Valorant. See you guys in the next step. Lastly, but certainly not least, I would consider this to be actually the single most important mechanic to learn in order to improve mechanically in Valorant. And this is of course crosshair placement. So if you haven't heard of this term, it's basically where you place your crosshair at all times at headshot level. So there are many ways to improve headshot or crosshair placement, or headshot, you know, where you're placing your crosshair at headshot level. So the problem is with lower ranked players, and I'm talking about typically like plat and below. Many plat players are actually pretty good about this, but below plat, you're gonna have problems of like, you know, aiming at the chest and not really thinking about this. This is so important. Like if you do this and you really get good at it, you're gonna be plat and beyond very easily. You don't need to do much more than this. The problem is it's easier said than done, and you know, you can listen to this video and then you can go back into a game and forget that this is really important. Because if you forget even for like 10 seconds, like whenever you're watching a flank, so right, like this is headshot level, and then you forget for a second while you're watching flank, you're like, oh, there might be someone on flank. Oh, I'm looking at their toes. Oh, their shins. Oh my god, look at their crotch. Like, okay, right? So make sure that you're always like in a constant state of like headshot level, headshot level, headshot level. Radiant players, this is so ingrained into their brain that they don't think about it. It's just second nature. That's how you want it to get, right? But for you, for now, it's really gonna have to be you're gonna have to be thinking about it, right? You're gonna have to be thinking about it repeatedly in order to get it ingrained to second nature. So how can we practice this? The best way is really going to be in deathmatch. Of course, aim trainers aren't going to be the best for this unless you find specific tasks for like headshot level Valorant. But for the range, something I can show you guys is, first of all, realize that where you place your crosshair on someone's head far away is a little bit different than up close. So you see, I'm placing my crosshair in the direct middle of this bot's head. Then I move forward. I come all the way forward, haven't moved my crosshair. You see, I'm actually at the bottom of his head now. So the closer you are, it's going to be a little bit different. But it's not that much different. You just have to aim slightly higher whenever you think someone's gonna be super close to you. Like say you're holding a corner like right around here, you might aim just like very slightly higher. This is not that important though. It's just something to kind of be aware of. Also be aware of height differences. So are you above, right? If you're above, obviously I'm not gonna aim at where they're gonna be as if I'm on level ground. I'm gonna be aiming down a little bit, trying to predict where their head is. And if you're below, right, there's a little bit of a decline here. You're going to need to aim up a little bit. So this is going to be a bit of a harder part of crosshair placement. Probably the hardest part is just remembering to place your crosshair at headshot level. But as far as like the different height levels, this is just going to come from experience. So you're not going to be a master at, you know, instantly knowing, okay, where's the person's head going to be whenever I'm holding this angle. The purpose of crosshair placement is not always to have your crosshair perfectly on their head. It's to have it as close as possible to where the enemy's head is going to be whenever they peek you or whenever you see their head, right? So you can come into the range and you can practice from all different sorts of angles, all different sorts of heights, elevations. This is nice because it kind of, like, you might not feel like it's really helping you, but say you're in heaven, right? You're in heaven, you're looking down on people. This is really a good way to mimic this. There's not many other ways you can do this other than in deathmatch, okay? So this is a good if you're really like a beginner. And I would highly recommend trying this, even if it's just like moving your crosshair around, placing your crosshair on them, getting up closer to them like this, and then just getting a feel for what it's like to get your crosshair on them. You can shoot them, it doesn't really matter. And then by doing this, you're just ingraining your brain with where the headshot level is. So hopefully these tips really help you guys. You know, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment down below if they're helpful, or any sort of video idea you'd like to see next. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Much love, guys.